Hello and welcome to day 3, the final day of our rose workshop. And I'm very excited today because you guys know my favorite thing is dusting flowers. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to be dusting, we're going to be calyxing, and we're going to be taping. I don't know if calyxing is a word, but I'm going to use it today. So just a reminder about the replays, those are going to be up until December 24th, so just over a week from now, and then they're going to be available as a free bonus if you purchase any of my rose courses. So Hellebore, David Austin, or Classic Rose, or if you buy the bundle, you're going to get this for free so you can keep it forever. I hope you can see how much we achieved with just a few different tools and cutters. Like we hardly used anything for this course, and it's basically the same with the rose course, but we are going to be going more in depth in the courses with color theory, with texturing our petals in different ways, and also with dusting. My hope is that you are willing to invest in yourself and not just hope and pray that your dream clients are going to appear, but actually help them find you by showing them your gorgeous work and what's possible. Since I started my full-time cake business only 4 years ago, I have 4x'd my cake prices, and I truly believe that it is 99% because of the luxury value that people see in the sugar flowers that I create. And I know you can do the same thing too, with just a little bit of mentorship and guidance from me. So I'll be sending out the course link right at the end of this workshop, only to you guys. You get first access and everyone else has to wait a little bit longer. I will send it to your inbox. So as soon as this is over, check your inbox, and if you are interested in those 3 courses, you can purchase them right away. And just a reminder, the bundle is awesome. You save $174 and you get all 3 courses, Rose, Hellebore, and David Austin. Okay, but with all of that said, let's do the dusting now for our Majolica spray roses. Just one quick note before we get into it. If you are watching this as a replay, I'm gonna have the link in the description box below to purchase the courses. Okay, now let's dust. So we are ready for some dusting. Here are my flowers. These are some ones I made before, and then these are the ones I made with you guys, and you can see they're a little bit more pink, but I'm gonna show you how to dust both. You could really make whatever color rose you wanted, and sometimes I do like to make like off-white ones to go with like more of a creamy palette, and then I like to make more pink ones if I know my palette is gonna be more on the pink side. I've grabbed a bunch of dusts here, but you're not going to need to use all of them, of course. We're just dusting white flowers. We can keep it much simpler than this, but I wanted to give you some options just in case you can't find some of these colors, just how to mix and match in order to get the colors that we want. So as always, let's start with some cornstarch on our surface. And the colors that I would generally mix in order to create a couple different hues or tints, I guess in this case, because we're going to be adding a lot of white to them, is caramel and raspberry. So let's start with that. I usually like to just add a very, very tiny amount to the side, and then I will dilute it in some cornstarch. So basically what we're doing is just making a slightly darker tint than what we used on our flowers. So we're at like quite a pink color here, a light pink. I'm gonna dilute it even more because we don't need a very bright color here. And then let's add a bit of that caramel. So always add it to the side first, and then you can blend it in just in case you have too much on your brush. So we've got kind of like a warm pinkish color here. I'm gonna add just a touch more of the caramel. That looks nice. It's kind of like an ivory color with a touch of pink. And what I might do if I feel that it's a bit too pink, I might add a touch of green or a touch of like a crimson color just to make it a little bit more on the like brownish red side, but I'm happy with this now. Let's test it out on one of our flowers and see how it's looking. So here is just one of the flowers I made before. I have a small brush here and I'm just gonna make sure that's clean by running it through the cornstarch. Clearly I should have picked a different brush because I've used this for very bright reds or oranges before. But we will make it work. All right, I think that's good enough. So let's begin dusting a bit of this. So I always like to start in the center, just catching those edges, and then I'm going to also put the brush into the crevices. Remember, always start with a more diluted color than you think you need, because you can never take the color off once it's added on. So just going through all of those crevice areas. I was really enjoying seeing all of your work on the Facebook group, everyone. It was nice to see that you guys went into action so quickly after yesterday's workshop. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing your dusted flowers after today. So just going along these edges, giving them a little bit more color. All right, that looks nice for the white flower. The next thing we want to do is add a little bit of green. So let's blend that. So I've got a brush that I use just for greens. The color that I would want is moss green here. And I am going to mix that with the previous color because we want to keep it really light. Kind of like blending in. Let's add a bit more of the white to make a lighter tint. That is one of my favorite tips that I put in the course. If you're transitioning to a new color on your flower, blend in the previous color that you just used into the new color, just so it's not so bright and it blends cohesively into the flower. I want to add a bit of caramel to this, make it slightly warmer. So it's just like barely bringing in that caramel. I'm leaving it to the side. And then our dusted flower, I'm just gonna go right along the edges here, especially the outside edges. I like putting a little bit of that warm green color. And then I'll do a couple little spots on the flower itself. So it's nice when we use a really diluted color. I don't have to worry about over dusting. I can go over it a couple times if I need to. Great, I think this is looking perfect. So a really subtle dust. You don't need to add anything intense or like extremely saturated here, but just enough to bring out the shadows and just give it a little bit more life with that green. So next I'm going to show you how we're going to use color theory. If we don't have these colors, what we can do alternatively. So let's bring some cornstarch over. And let's say we only have a green and red. So I have like a crimson, just like a leaf green, very primary kind of colors, and I have a yellow and black. So let's start with the pink color. So we're just going to add the smallest bit of crimson. So add that onto the side, and then we can begin blending small amounts into our cornstarch. We're going to need more of that. So just blending very small amounts of the crimson into the cornstarch. Like it was barely anything. So now we've got like a nice pink base. Now if we want to mute it down to more of with that the alternative for the caramel color, what I'm going to do is add just the tiniest bit of green, which if you'll remember is the complementary color to red. So if we add green and red, we're going to get a brown. So we've added the red. Now we just need a touch of green, like I'm talking a very, very tiny amount. So I have like a very small amount, and I'm going to put it on the side here because I know it's going to be too much. So then let's just dip our brush in just the very edge of that, and then we can add it in. We need a bit more warmth here, which is why we have the yellow. So it's already muted it down, so it's not quite as red, but we do need a touch of the yellow. And I want a bit more red in here. I'm just trying to match it to the color that we already have. So that's the great thing about color theory. You can do color matching, which is so useful. When you're trying to match bouquets, I always do this for my couples. When they send me their arrangements, and then I can basically color match everything for them so that the cake blends in really cohesively with everything else on their big day. All right, we just need like the tiniest bit more of the crimson color, so just adding a small amount, and then I think it's going to be perfect. I might dilute it just a little bit more so we're not adding a dark color on. Yeah, that looks for me exactly the same as this in real life. I can't tell what it looks like on the video, but hopefully it looks good. All right, let's dust our next flower. So I'll just try and clean that off a little bit, although there's not much to clean off. And go in with our color. And again, we'll just start in the center, just like that, very gently in the center, and then into all those little crevices. And don't forget about your edges too. Perfect. Now let's do our green. And basically what we want to do is we have our green here, just our basic green. Let's dilute that. Add more yellow. And some red too, to mute that down into more of that caramelly green color. And we're gonna need just a little bit more yellow too. So just keep adjusting until you're happy with it. So now I think we have like basically that caramel color. We can bring in just a tiny bit more green and then some of our previous color to dilute that. So to me, this looks very similar to the color we achieved here for our green. So I'm happy with that. And let's dust that on our edges. I think that looks great. I'm going to show you the two side by side and then we can move on to our closed flowers. So those look very similar and you can see we achieve that with like two separate palettes. Depending on what you have, just use what you've got and a little bit of color theory and yeah, you can basically make any color. We do go much more in depth about color theory in the course. A lot of chat about how to create different colors with different gel pastes. All right, let's do our closed flowers. So I have one of the more creamy ones on the left and then one of the more pinkish ones on the right. I don't know if it's hard to see in the camera, but hopefully you can see it's a little bit more pink here. Let's begin dusting the cream one first. And what I want to do with this is in the center, I want to add a bit more like of a caramelly warm color. And then as we work our way outwards, we're going to dust it the same as we did the closed flowers. So I'm going to use my green brush for that just because it's a little smaller so I can really get into the crevice. Actually, I have a better flower here so you can see it. So this is my other cream flower. So we have our caramel color. Let's bring over a bit of dust and just make it a little bit more caramelly. And let's begin dusting that in the center. So we basically just want to accentuate the stamens that we created. So just kind of pressing the brush in like that. Letting it dissipate as you go upwards, kind of creating like an ombre effect. This is why you need a small brush so you don't break any petals, or try not to at least. So this is really just creating a lot of depth within the flower so it doesn't look, I don't know, like just the center is stuck inside a white flower. Can look a bit one-dimensional. So I'm gonna allow some of that caramel dust to come up on the edges as well. But just of the center area, not the whole flower. And then I'm gonna add just a little bit more of the caramel dust just in those first few layers in the crevice areas. And then we're gonna switch to the other brush and our previous color dusts. Perfect, so I think that looks great. Let's use our other brush that we were using for all of our very light pinks. And then do the same thing as we did before, so just get into all those crevice areas. And you can go back over the areas that we did with the caramel, just to make sure everything looks cohesive. We don't want it to ever look like we just like stuck two colors on there. I think that looks great. Let's go back with our green that we created before. I'm gonna add just a little more green. And go along some of those edges with the green dust. And you can go back in the center there just a tiny bit. Don't do it like evenly all the way around, just do like a couple little spots. So I like to hit the tips of the petals with the green. Awesome, I think that one is looking gorgeous. All right, and we're back onto the calyxes, and I finished dusting all of these flowers. So they have some really beautiful colors, shifting from that caramel color to the pink, and then just little touches of green. So I think these are gonna be gorgeous. Let's do our calyxes. So I just have this old PME calyx cutter, and that's gonna work perfectly. Yeah, it shouldn't cover the whole back of your flower, maybe like between 1/2 and 2/3. But as you guys know, I don't really add calyxes on everything, especially if nobody's gonna see the back of the flower. So I've made this gum paste already, I've colored it. I always have this color around because I use it for so many things. But this is just some gooseberry mixed with a spruce green. So if you wanted to achieve this color and you didn't have these colors, mix holly green, which is gonna be your base color, add a little bit of egg yellow or some sort of yellow color, which is gonna get you pretty close to gooseberry. And then you can add a little bit of black to tone down the shade a little bit. And then if you find it too bright, just add green's complementary color, which is red. So I've got this color made. I'm gonna need just a very small amount. And I'm gonna roll this by hand because someone in the Facebook group did ask, can you roll it by hand? Is it possible to get it thin enough? And yes, I believe it is. You just gotta put some muscle into it. So grab a little shortening, and we'll need this because it's straight from the fridge. Place that on your mat. I prefer silicone because it doesn't stick. And let's roll that. I'm gonna add a little bit of cornstarch to this in a second, just so that it's not as sticky onto my rolling pin. All right, so we're rolling, and I think we're already pretty close to the thickness that we want, which would be maybe a number 4 or a number 5 on the pasta machine. yeah, it's pretty thin over here already. Let's just do a little more. You want to pick it up every once in a while to kind of feel the thickness. And also you can see how translucent it is. I'm not sure if you can actually see that in the video, but hopefully. And if it's sticking anywhere, just add a little more cornstarch. I think that looks great. So yeah, I think this is the same thickness as like a number 5 or so on the pasta machine. So it's definitely possible. Just start with a small amount. And let's cut out a few of these guys. Rub the back always with plastic cutters especially. And then we can poke that out. You can see how thin that is. Just put that under your plastic wrap. And I'll cut out one for each flower that we've got here. So that is 2, 4, 6, 8. Perfect, so I've cut out 9 in total. Always want a little extra just in case something dries out or you mess up something. Just need your foam mat and a bulb tool. I'm gonna use the medium for this because these calyxes are pretty tiny. And need some water. So let's grab a couple at a time. Usually I'll do like, I don't know, I try to do as many at a time because by the time I'm making a calyx, I'm like over it. I really want the flower to be finished and put it on a cake already. So let's thin the edges. Maybe it's good that I have less patience, then I can show you guys all the shortcuts. And then I like to pull in the edges like this. Take your water or your gum glue. I ran out of gum glue today and I am at home, not at my kitchen, so I cannot make any more. And we'll just add those on. So just thread it right down the center. And then flip your flower. And then just cover up whatever you need to cover up with the calyx. That is the beauty of adding one. You get to cover up any mistakes. But if you don't really have much to cover up, I like to leave some of the little calyx petals kind of flowing. It just looks nice and natural like that. But yeah, if you have any like ugly fingerprints or whatever, just put the calyx over that. And then I'm gonna allow this to dry either horizontally or upside down. And let's grab one of our pink ones from yesterday and thread that on. Awesome, I think that looks great. Let me finish all of these and then we're gonna come back so we can tape up the stems and finish up. Final step, everybody get excited. So I've got all my flowers drying horizontally in that styrofoam, just because I don't have my wire rack with me right now. But we can still tape them up. The calyxes should only take, I don't know, like 10 minutes to kind of firm up a little bit, enough that you can bring your flower back vertically. So I've got this nice color green tape. I think I got this from Sugar Delights, I'm pretty sure. And it's like a olive green type tape, which I really like, or maybe a I don't know. It's very similar to like the gooseberry color. If you make a dark gooseberry with your gum paste. Not sure what color we would call that. So I'm just gonna cut it in half because full width is definitely too wide for these small flowers. And I need to change the razor on this thing, but that should be enough tape. So just stretch out your tape and then grab one of your flowers and start maybe a centimeter down from the top. Wrap it around a couple times and then you can push that up so you don't have to get your fingers all in there, and then tape all the way down the stem, making sure to keep a really tight pull on the tape the whole way down so it sticks. And then just make sure the bottom is nice and sealed up, and we're good to go. So I'll leave that horizontally for now just because the calyxes are still drying. Let's do one more. So this one's a little trickier because if you can see, we've got a little bit of tape here from when we were doing our centers. So we will have to start this closer to the top. But definitely if you know which color tape you're going to be using for your stem, use the same color tape when you're adding your stamens in the first place. That way it'll just blend together. So we're going to have to start that right at the top. So I'll just pinch that kind of closed and then just carefully tape downwards, keeping it very tight the whole time. I think that is pretty much all. Let's just have a quick chat before we go, and make sure to post your work in the Facebook group too. And that is everything for the Rose Workshop. I really hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the whole thing. If you have any questions, do feel free to post them in the comments below the video, not in the chat because we can't keep those questions, unfortunately. And then also post them in the Facebook group if you have anything. And then just a quick reminder about replays again. Available for 1 week, so they'll be available for free until the 24th, and then you can get them as a free bonus in any of the Rose courses, which I am going to send you the link for right now. So if you're interested, go check your inbox, and yeah, I can't wait to see you in class. It's going to be amazing. The 3 courses are so packed with information, and they're going to make you a better cake artist. So I really hope to see you there. Thank you again for being here. It was a blast after we got over the first day of technical difficulties, but thanks for sticking around anyway. If you are watching a replay of this, the Rose courses might not be open anymore, but you can always sign up for all of the details in the description box below still, and if they are open, you're going to see them down there too. I really appreciate you being here, and we'll talk soon.